Hi, I'm Danielle Hartman. Thank you for joining me again for another episode of Poured in PA, a series sharing the stories of Pennsylvania's craft beer industry. We kick things off with an experimental brewery that believes in open source brewing. Tucked away in the Parkway Movie Theater in McKees Rocks, you can find the mad scientists of Abjuration Brewing.
Why don't you tell me a little bit about how you guys just even got into brewing in the first place?
Oh yeah, this is a good one for Dave.
No, you can take this one.
Oh, right on. I think about 10 years ago, David got a homebrew kit and started working through the beers, and he'd had a lot of fun with it, and he asked me to come on board. And at that point, we were doing all grains, which is a special kind of brewing where you normally would get a kit that would have things already set for you. And he had just started getting a level where he was making his own recipes up, and it was a little bit more work. And I love chemistry, and I loved everything about making beer.
We did beer festivals first. We really wanted to make sure that we had a product. There was already a great brewery scene starting in Pittsburgh. So we really wanted to make sure that we had a viable product. So we hit the beer festival circuit and basically just allowed people to check in on Untappd or to give us feedback to see where we were.
I think, after making beer for 8 years, we decided that we could really do this. Abjuration means essentially no rules. The idea of abjuration is really to keep making new products. We think the beer customer wants a new thing. When they come in, they always want the new, so just give them new beers. And for us, it keeps us challenged. We're not making the same beer again and again and again, so we're able to bring a lot more energy to the beer in that way, and I'm happy for it.
The open source is literally, we put the whole recipe out on our website. It's actually proven to be a little bit of a logistical nightmare because we have to enter every recipe basically into the website. Essentially, we put every recipe out there, down to the nitty gritty. The water profile is not there, but we only use about 3 different water profiles, so we'll give it to you if you want it.
With the versioning of the beers, this is really our past. We're making something next that isn't online. So to us, it would be, and you can play our version of Stairway to Heaven if you want. This is just our old art. So if you want to take it and use it, it's almost like if you were to go to Subway and you have 40 ingredients in front of you. Like, you're a sandwich artist, granted, you're the coolest sandwich artist in the world, but I can put those same ingredients together or not, and everyone has their own thumbprints on what they're doing in beer. So to us, it wasn't a risk to put our recipes out there for people.
It's like if you have the same pizza recipe and it's literally the same exact pizza recipe, sometimes it's about where it's made still.
Right.
That's why we weren't afraid to do it. You know what I mean? Like, somebody makes beef stew, even if you have the same exact recipe.
It's not the same kitchen.
It's not the same kitchen. There's little tiny nuances.
Beer isn't instantaneous. You have like a 3 to 4 week lag depending on what kind of beer it is to make it. And by the time we put it in our fermenters and it's listed to the time it gets produced, I would love it if I saw more of our beers being produced, because that means we're having a good effect on Pittsburgh beer, like in our regional neighborhood. We think we're making the best product we can. So if other people want to try to make our version of the best product too, that's a win for everybody. It just makes better beer.
We've had some homebrewers bring in beers that they've tried to replicate, and that was just awesome. That's kind of why we do it, I think, was to give back to the homebrewers. We were homebrewers.
When someone brings in a beer they made off your recipe and says, what do you think about it? It's hard not to take it to heart.
We were waiting for that, so when that happened, that was awesome.
Yeah, and it was organic, and it was just, it just meant everything to us. It's really like you can see someone else care about what you're into in such a real personal way. It was awesome. Our number one seller, because we don't make the same beer again and again and again, is the pint glass.
We kind of knew from early on that we were going to try to use beakers.
We're both nerds. We do love science. There's so much science in brewing that in that way it's really easy to lean in on. We didn't know how hard these would be to source.
We'd have never have done it if we realized how hard it was to get these. All kinds of the glass providers tried, and they couldn't do it. The little lip drove their machines crazy. So we ended up having to go to actually the people who made the glass and ask them if who prints the measuring things on, because a lot of these glasses,
the graduation,
they buy them with just the graduation and then someone else prints them on.
We've gone through 2 different suppliers, 2 different countries. The whole thing is just a real nightmare, but it looks so cool. So I mean,
and the price point stinks on them. They're expensive. They break easy when they get cleaned.
Yeah, because they're real labware.
Yeah.
They're what's called borosilicate glass, and you can take these to like almost 1800 Fahrenheit. And so if you're looking at it,
but if you push too hard on it, it'll completely destroy.
Yeah, they're like lab quality, so they detonate when they hit a surface. They'll chip super easy, like if you stack them. And we didn't care about the logistics. We just wanted to do the thing because it was, sometimes you just do things because they're cool, and it was cool to us. And now it's so much a part of the identity. I don't know we could get away from it, and I wouldn't want to. You see a lot of home brewers that are looking to make the jump into production brewing, and it is location and heart, not just the beer. It seems like if I just make a good enough product, it'll all fall together, but you really do have to have a good spot and know there's been a lot of breweries that didn't succeed because they just weren't in the right place at the right time. And so I would say take your time to find your location would be my best suggestion to somebody, because you can always make the beer. You can't always find the right place. One of the best things about the Parkway Theater that we find ourselves in today is that we were able to make a local partnership with Aaron Stubna, who had a functioning movie theater that he wanted to bring a good product to, and he thought that we were that product. So that for us really helped us. He helped by, he incubated us until we opened. And that was essentially the leg up we needed to really get the brewery here. And we owe him a lot for that. And it's really interesting when you see how the space works together. It's really nice and inviting to come into the shared lobby area with a great big screen and sports events on in here and the lounge with music. It's just such a value added location for us.
And the way that it's set up here, you would think it's kind of awkward, but it ends up being a very unique thing where you have to walk up to there to order, and it's constant interaction with everyone in through here.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, absolutely.
So it's worked out great.
I'm so happy we put the brewery here, and that's one of the things, we've made a really good decision in coming to McKees Rocks. It has only paid us back tenfold, and we're not going anywhere in that way. People say, oh, your beers really move forward. Where are you going to go from here? And we're like, we're not going, we're staying. This place is our home.
If you enjoy barrel-aged beers, you're in luck. We're now off to Elizabethtown for a visit to Moo-Duck Brewery for their annual Woodfest.
Prior to being a brewer, I worked, and it's where I met my wife actually too. We were environmental educators, so we were working at a place called the Pocono Environmental Education Center. And one of the big fundraisers we did for that particular nature center was a birdathon called the World Series of Birding. Sounds really weird, but basically it's just for every species of bird we would find, somebody would pledge us 10 cents a bird or whatever it was. So it was a way to make money for the nature center. So we were entering that, and I looked at the names of other teams, and they were kind of generic, like the Eagles or the Falcons or the Sandpipers, or kind of generic bird names. So we wanted to think of a name that made people think, who the heck are these guys and what are they all about? And one of the original teammates happened to be a Russian intern who I'd hired, and he was always joking with us every time we were out looking for birds that we were a bunch of moo-ducks. So there's perhaps some connotation to the Russian language of what it really means, but we thought it kind of sounded fun, and so we went with it for that event. And out of about 50 teams, we ended up placing in the top 10, so we actually did pretty well as a first-time team. When I had left that job is pretty much when I started home brewing. So in order to kind of keep that name moving forward, all the beers I named were Moo-Duck something or other. So when it came time to open up the brewery, we thought, what would be kind of a fun name, something that's going to make people think, what the heck is this place all about? We opened officially in 2014. Like the story's been told by probably 1,000 other interviews you've done. My wife bought me a homebrew kit. So I was doing that pretty seriously for about 7 or 8 years. When the wife gave me the okay to kind of pursue this dream, she said it has to be in our hometown. We're literally located right across the street from an Amtrak train station, so it makes it pretty cool. There are people who bring the train down from both Harrisburg or Lancaster especially, even some people who bring it up from the Philadelphia area, which is cool. And then the other thing that's kind of good is a lot of people will be picking somebody up or leaving from this station, so they'll stop in and have some food and drinks before they go. So it really worked out for us. When we opened, we were the first one here in E-Town, and we're fortunate enough that we have Funk Brewing has a tap room here in E-Town now, and Cox Brewing has opened since here in E-Town. So, our town is lucky that we have 3 little cool local hangouts. But when we opened, we really wanted to focus on being a part of the community and not being a place that you're going to go to anywhere, 2-3 counties over and be able to get our beer, but a place where people around this town could come and have a cool spot to hang out and to drink some really good locally made beer. So that's always been our focus and will always continue to be our focus. And the community has embraced us, and we've kind of embraced the community, and we kind of have our own fun little niche here and providing a local little pub for people to come hang out in. A couple years ago, we were trying to figure out a fun event to come up for in like the wintertime. The Brewfests are kind of winding down. So Woodfest is our all barrel-aged beers on tap one day only. We got some barrel-aged stouts and some kind of heavier beers, I think, which is kind of appropriate for when it's cold out. And I guess I should just take a step back. Normally we do this the first day of winter. This year, because we were in a little bit of a shutdown mode still at the solstice, we decided to kick it back and do it a month later. Because we like to tie in kind of smoked meats with some of our specials, we do a bacon weaved smoked fatty. We take some ground sausage and we roll it really thin, and then we kind of stuff that with some cheese and some spices and barbecue sauce, and then we kind of roll that up like you would see like a pumpkin roll. And then to cover that, we do a weave of bacon, and it goes on the smoker and gets smoked for 2-3 hours until it's done. Generally what we do is throughout the year, whenever we release a barrel-aged beer, we save like 1 keg of it to have for tonight. So tonight we have 3 different variants of our anniversary Russian Imperial Stout. So it's called King Slava. We have a 3-year-old version. We have the 2020, which is this year's version. And then we did a special variant of this year's with some maple syrup and hazelnuts. And then for the people who don't kind of like the darker stuff, we have 3 sours on tonight. All 3 of them were kind of authentically made Belgian-style sours. So you can see the barrels behind me. They spent about a year fermenting and aging inside a barrel. The bourbon barrels, we get them and they're fresh dumped. So when you open the bung off that barrel, you can smell all the bourbon and oakiness to that. So as the barrels expand and contract depending on temperature, it keeps going in and out the flavor. So you can really extract just a ton of flavor in those. Now the sours, we have a couple barrels back behind me that we only do sour stuff in. So they're getting all these bacteria and cool funky bugs that are working and doing their magic to produce the sour cultures. So it's just really the beer taking the essence of what's going on with the barrel itself.
We round out this episode with a small brewery in the Lawrenceville neighborhood of Pittsburgh. 11th Hour Brewing Company is our brewery spotlight. Until next time. Cheers.
So the name 11th Hour seems like it's been, I get that question a lot. The 11th hour really starts with not waiting until the 11th hour to do something. And it's not like a concept of activity, but don't wait until it's too late. I didn't want to wait until I was 55 and say, shit, I really should have done something. I really should have went for that thing that I really felt passionate about and I really wanted to do. Because I think that's the only way that you're going to survive in anything, or the only way that you're going to be successful in anything, is if you really, really, really love it. If you're just doing it because it's the cool thing, then you're not going to survive. Or maybe you will, but I don't know that it's going to be as worthwhile as doing something you love. What kind of style we brew is what do we like to brew and what do we like to drink. The majority of what we like to drink is more classic styles in terms of German lagers. We have an entire lager series that we do. Try not to fanciful name it and just kind of go with a base name. Of, you know, like Mexican lager or Helles or, which is actually what I'm drinking right now. We also do a lot of fruited sours. Felt like we did a pretty good job. We had a pretty good series that was going, so we stuck with that. So we have a couple different fruited sours that we do. We also have a foeder, so we do some wild sours. We have a lot of barrels in the back that we do wild barrel programs, so we do some wild yeasts and things like that. We probably have 2 or 3 periodic releases that we do of imperial stouts, which is BYS is every year on our anniversary. So BYS is Burn Your Suit. So that was my attempt to exit the corporate world and the homage to that. And then, as obvious, we do the hazy IPAs, big hazy IPAs, hazy doubles, things like that. We just completed our last year series, which was our Hour series, which we did and released one each month, and that's transitioning into our Moon series for 2021, which is releasing on each full moon. So we started off with the Wolf Moon, and we're now transitioning to Snow Moon. We kind of came to Lawrenceville as, it wasn't our initial intention. We just found this building and then fell in love with not only the concept, but the location. It's tucked away, so where we are is a street back off of the main drag. So we don't get a lot of that like just drive-by traffic that they don't know what it is. We get a lot of, we sought this out, that's why we're here. But it was still a little rough when we got in here. Some aspects of the neighborhood that were not quite great, but there's been a lot of development here since we got here. New houses across the street, new apartments being built. It's a lot of stuff that we've been able to see the growth of the community, and it's been really cool. When COVID hit, we did a all-together brew for Lawrenceville. We worked with Lawrenceville United and Lawrenceville Corporation, which are the resident-focused and business-focused arms of the Lawrenceville community, and worked with them to try and help out some of the folks that were in the hospitality industry. So we brewed that beer in collaboration with Hop Farm, Roundabout, and Cinderlands, so that we had four breweries that are in Lawrenceville supporting Lawrenceville, and the proceeds benefited people who work here. So it's pretty closely knit community around, and that's in Pittsburgh in general. I think the future holds additional expansion. We're looking at different locations. We're looking at expanding our capabilities here in the Lawrenceville Brewery. I think different types of events, different types of spaces that we can utilize, more outdoor seating, continuing to grow those aspects of the business. Packaged product has been something that we really leaned into during COVID, and we were pretty happy with the results of that. It offered us an opportunity to practice a lot more than we probably would have beforehand. We want to make the best beer possible, and we want to work with everybody around us, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a competition while competition is healthy. And I believe that the competition in Pittsburgh is one of the things that drives everybody to new levels from a nationwide standpoint. Where I've gone, I feel pretty lucky from my own tastes to be able to drink the beer in Pittsburgh, because I feel like we each push each other, and rather than drinking somebody else's beer and saying, well, this sucks, well, shit, this is pretty good, I'm gonna see how I can do just as good or better. And then I think everybody kind of builds off of each other for that aspect.